The village of Raven Hollow was a quiet place nestled between tall hills and thick, mysterious woods. The woods were ancient, as old as the stories that the villagers told about them. Stories of strange lights that danced between the trees, music that played on the wind with no apparent source, and whispers of creatures that had not been seen in generations. Some villagers swore they had caught glimpses of glowing eyes in the darkness, of fleeting shadows that moved too quickly to be human. But these were just stories. At least that's what Lila had always believed. Lila had spent her whole life hearing these tales, but she had never given them much thought. She was practical, a dreamer at heart, but rooted in reality. The woods, though beautiful, were nothing more than trees and wildlife to her. Yet on one particular night, something called to her, a pull she couldn't explain, something deep within the forest that beckoned her to follow Dot. It was the night of the full moon, and the village was asleep under its silver glow. Lila, restless and curious, found herself drawn outside. She stood at the edge of the village, staring into the dark expanse of the woods. The moonlight filtered through the trees, casting eerie shadows that seemed to move with a life of their own. Normally she would have turned back, shrugged it off, and gone home. But tonight was different. "I'll just go a little ways in," Lila murmured to herself, tightening her cloak around her shoulders to ward off the chill of the night air. Just to see. Her heart raced as she stepped into the woods, the soft crunch of leaves underfoot the only sound. The deeper she went, the more the forest seemed to change around her. The air was thick with a strange energy, and the sounds of the village faded into the distance. The trees grew taller, their branches reaching out like twisted fingers. Lila's breath quickened, but she pressed on, her curiosity outweighing her fear. Then she saw it, a faint shimmering light ahead just beyond a cluster of thick trees. It wasn't the cold, pale glow of the moon, but something warmer, softer, like starlight coming to life. Lila pushed through the undergrowth, her heart pounding in her chest, and found herself in a clearing unlike any she had ever seen Dot. The air here was different, sweet, fragrant with the scent of blooming flowers that glowed faintly in the moonlight. The trees that ringed the clearing seemed to whisper secrets, their leaves rustling with a voice of their own. The grass beneath her feet shimmered, and the entire scene felt dreamlike, as though she had stepped into another world. And in the center of it all, sitting on a smooth, moss-covered stone, was a figure bathed in silver light. Lila froze, her breath catching in her throat. The figure was like something out of the old legends, a man but not quite. His skin had a soft iridescent glow, and his eyes, when they met hers, sparkled like the stars. His hair was a cascade of silver, blending into the moonlight that surrounded him. But what truly captured her attention were his wings, translucent and delicate, fluttering gently as though stirred by an unseen breeze. A fairy. Lila had heard the stories, of course, but she had never believed them. And yet here he was, sitting before her as real as the ground beneath her feet. Her heart raced with a mixture of awe and fear, but something about the fairy's presence soothed her, calmed the trembling in her hands. The fairy stood slowly, his movement fluid and graceful, like a ripple in a pond. He tilted his head, studying her with a curious, almost amused expression. For a long moment neither of them spoke, the silence between them thick with unspoken questions. Finally Lila found her voice, though it trembled slightly. Who are you?" The fairy's lips curved into a small smile, and when he spoke, his voice was like the wind rustling through the trees, soft, melodic, and otherworldly. "I am Aaron," he said, stepping closer, his gaze never leaving hers. "And you are the first human to truly see me in many years." Lila's eyes widened. "What do you mean, see you? She hesitated, her mind racing. She couldn't believe what she was seeing, couldn't reconcile the fantastical creature before her with the reality she had always known. "Are you real?" Aaron's smile deepened, and he let out a soft, amused laugh. "Real? That depends on what you mean by real. To your kind, I am often little more than a story, a whisper on the wind, but here in this place I am very much real." He extended his hand toward her, and for a moment Lila hesitated. But something inside her told her to trust him. Tentatively, she reached out and placed her hand in his. His skin was warm, and the touch sent a shiver up her spine, though not from fear. His grip was gentle, yet there was a strength in him that she couldn't quite explain. "What are you?" Lila whispered, still trying to make sense of it all. Aaron's eyes softened, and he released her hand, stepping back slightly. "I am a Faerie, as your people call us. We are the keepers of the woods, the guardians of the ancient magic that flows through this land." Lila blinked, her mind reeling. "But how? How have I never seen you before?" Aaron's gaze turned distant, as though he were looking through time itself. "My kind has been watching the human world for centuries, though we rarely reveal ourselves. The barrier between our realms is thin, but only those who truly believe, who are open to the magic around them, can see us." Lila shook her head, trying to process everything. I never believed the stories. Not really." Aaron's eyes sparkled with a hint of mischief. "Perhaps you believed more than you realized. Why else would you have come here tonight, into the heart of the woods?" Lila bit her lip, unsure of how to answer. She had always been curious about the forest, always felt a strange pull toward it, but she had never truly believed in the fairy tales. Had she? Aaron watched her closely, his expression softening. "You are different from the others, Lila," he said quietly. "You see the world as it truly is, not as it appears to be. That is why you were able to find me." The way he said her name sent a shiver through her, and Lila found herself unable to look away from his piercing gaze. How do you know my name?" Aaron smiled again, but this time it was a sad, knowing smile. "I have watched you for some time now, Lila. I know much about you, more than you might think." Lila's heart skipped a beat, and 1,000 questions raced through her mind. But before she could ask any of them, Aaron turned away, his wings fluttering gently in the cool night air. "I cannot stay here for long," he said, his voice suddenly distant. "The magic that binds me to this world is fragile, and if I linger, I will be forced to return to my realm." Lila's stomach twisted at the thought of him leaving. She had only just met him, yet the idea of never seeing him again filled her with an unexpected sadness. "When will you return?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Aaron turned to her, his eyes filled with a quiet sorrow. "Soon," he said softly. "But I will return, if you wish to see me again." Lila nodded, unable to find the words to express the strange mix of emotions swirling inside her. "Then we shall meet again beneath the next full moon," Aaron said, and with one last lingering glance he vanished into the night, leaving Lila standing alone in the shimmering clearing, her heart racing and her mind full of wonder. As the moonlight bathed the forest in its silvery glow, Lila knew her life would never be the same again.